The Galactic Institute of Advanced Sciences stood as a monument to interstellar cooperation, its crystalline spires reaching toward three suns that bathed the campus in perpetual golden light. Here the brightest minds from 100 worlds gathered to push the boundaries of knowledge. Here Eli Wren felt utterly, completely alone. He shuffled across the courtyard, his worn boots scuffing against polished stone that had been quarried from a planet 40 light-years away. Around him his classmates moved in clusters, the towering Crethians with their forearms gesturing in animated conversation, the gaseous Valorians whose forms shimmered like aurora, the insectoid Chakir whose chittering laughter echoed off the walls. None of them looked at Eli. They never did. Humans were the newcomers to the galactic stage, their technology centuries behind, their physiology laughably weak. Eli had earned his place at the Institute through sheer determination and test scores that bordered on impossible, but his peers saw only a fragile biped who couldn't survive half the environments they considered routine. "Out of the way, primate!" hissed a Chakir student, shouldering past him with enough force to send Eli's datapad clattering to the ground. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Eli said nothing, just retrieved his device and continued toward the biology labs. That's when he heard it, a low rumbling whimper from behind the waste reclamation units. Eli paused. Every instinct screamed at him to ignore it, to get to class before Professor Kathir Val could add tardiness to his already lengthy list of human inadequacies. But that sound, that desperate, hungry sound, pulled at something deep in his chest. He found the creature wedged between two industrial containers, its scales dulled to a muddy bronze, its wings torn and hanging limp. A juvenile draconid, one of the rare, semi-intelligent species from the Outer Rim. Its golden eyes fixed on Eli with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. "Hey there," Eli whispered, crouching down despite the filth coating the ground. "You're pretty far from home, aren't you?" The draconid's stomach growled audibly. Without thinking, Eli reached into his bag and pulled out his lunch, a protein bar synthesized to human specifications, pathetically small by galactic standards. He unwrapped it and held it out. The creature lunged forward, snatching the offering with surprising gentleness. It devoured the bar in seconds, then looked at Eli with those impossibly intelligent eyes. Something passed between them in that moment, some wordless understanding that transcended species. Eli smiled. "Sorry, that's all I've got. But you stay safe, okay?" He was 45 minutes late to Professor Kathir Val's xenobiology seminar. The Velcoran instructor's head tendrils stiffened in displeasure as Eli slipped through the door. Kathir Val was old by any species standards, his blue-gray skin marked with the distinctive patterns of academic achievement. He regarded humans with the kind of patient disdain one might show a promising, but ultimately disappointing experiment. "How gracious of you to join us, Mr. Wren." Kathir's translator rendered his clicking speech into flat, sarcastic standard. "Perhaps human chronology differs from the rest of the civilized galaxy." "I'm sorry, Professor. There was—" "Spare me your excuses. Take your seat." Eli nodded and moved toward his isolated desk at the back. But before he could sit, a sound erupted from outside, a deep, resonant call that vibrated through the very walls of the building. Then another, and another. Professor Kathir's tendrils went rigid. Through the massive viewports, impossible shapes were descending from the sky. Draconids, dozens of them, their scales gleaming like molten metal in the triple sunlight. They landed in the courtyard with earth-shaking thuds, their wings creating windstorms that sent smaller students scrambling for cover. The entire class rushed to the windows. Eli's heart hammered in his chest. What was happening? The largest draconid, a massive matriarch whose scales shimmered between gold and crimson, raised her head and released another call. It was answered by the chorus of her kin, a sound that spoke of ancient power and terrible purpose. "Security protocols activated," the building's AI announced calmly. "All students shelter in place. Unknown xenofauna have entered campus grounds." Professor Kathir was already accessing the emergency communication systems, his multiple limbs moving in a blur. "This is unprecedented. Draconids are territorial solitary creatures. They don't gather like this. They certainly don't approach civilized worlds." The matriarch's head swiveled, scanning the building. Then she did something that froze every being in the room. She looked directly at the window. Directly at Eli, and she called again. "By the old stars," Kathir breathed. "She's calling for something. Or someone." Eli's classmates turned to stare at him, confusion and suspicion on every alien face. His hands were shaking. I don't... Mr. Wren. Professor Kathir's voice had lost all its condescension, replaced by genuine bewilderment. Have you had contact with draconids? There was a juvenile. It was hurt and hungry. I gave it my lunch. The silence that followed was absolute. Then one of the Crithian students laughed. A single barking sound. The human fed a dragon? That's insane. The matriarch's tail slammed against the ground, cracking the ancient stone. The Crithian fell silent. Professor Kathir was staring at Eli with something that might have been awe. Draconids have perfect recall and communicate through pheromone-encoded memory sharing. If you help the juvenile, it told its clan, and they've come to express gratitude, Eli finished quietly. He'd read about draconid culture in his personal studies, the same studies his classmates mocked him for wasting time on. Kathir's tendrils were trembling now. In 3,000 years of recorded galactic history, only twice have draconids willingly approached other species. Both times they bonded with civilizations that showed them unexpected kindness. His multifaceted eyes fixed on Eli. Do you understand what you've done, human? Eli shook his head slowly. You've made humanity allies of one of the most powerful and least understood species in known space. Kathir's voice held something Eli had never heard directed at him before. Respect. And you did it by sharing your lunch. Outside, the dragons waited, patient, loyal, ready to defend the strange, weak primate who had seen one of their children and chosen compassion over convenience. Eli Wren, the despised human student, walked toward the door. His classmates parted before him like water, their expressions transformed from mockery to wonder. Sometimes, he thought, strength isn't about how much you can lift or how harsh an environment you can survive. Sometimes it's about remembering kindness when no one's watching. The matriarch lowered her massive head as he emerged, a gesture of profound respect, and in that moment everything changed.